Hey guys, welcome to today's video. Today is my 1-year anniversary of purchasing this 2002 911 C4. And 1 year ago today, my son and I were driving the car home from California where we bought it. And today I want to cover what it's cost me to own this vehicle for the last year. And we're going to break that down into things that I did preventatively, like the IMS bearing and the water pump, to things that I actually had to fix, like the ignition switch and the e-brake switch. So as always, thank you for watching. If you like the video, please hit like. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit subscribe and come back for some more videos in 2018. Let's get started on the information. All right, so let's get into the numbers of what it actually costs to own my 911 this year. And I've kind of, like I said in the intro, I've broken it down into what I felt like were necessary costs, things I had to do to keep driving the car, and elective purchases, and just kind of preventative maintenance things. So the total cost that I spent this year, excluding the price of the car, was $6,721.55. And when I look back at that and I thought, wow, that is a lot. But when I really go through the numbers and I break it down, it's not as bad as it sounds. And obviously, if you're looking to buy a 996 and you're researching what it costs to own it and what are some of the things you're going to spend money on, hopefully this will help you with that. But don't get freaked out and don't throw your dreams out the window just yet, because you'll see, I think, once I dig into these numbers, that really it's not quite that bad. So when I break it down into necessary spending, and this is excluding fuel, I'm looking at $854.41. So that's a lot more acceptable. And I'll, as we go through the list here, I'll kind of show you where I thought everything kind of fit in. So with fuel that I estimated to be about $628, and that was basically just doing an average of about $2.25 a gallon here in Tucson for the last year. It could be a little more, could be a little less, over about 6,000 miles that I put on the car since I bought it. And I averaged probably around 21.5 miles per gallon, maybe a tiny bit more than that, but again, those are estimates. So $1,482.41 for necessary spending this year. All right, so what I chose to start with here is preventative maintenance and elective purchases. That's the stuff we're going to talk about first. And first and foremost on that list would be the IMS, the clutch, rear main seal, oil air separator, water pump, low temp thermostat. There was an oil change with that whole service, and then obviously they replaced the coolant. Along with that, they also found the drive shaft flex disc to be basically destroyed, which is something that the all-wheel drive models need. And then I had them flush my transmission fluid because I had a little bit of a notchiness between first and second. So that whole first service, which I did do a video on that you can watch if you want, was $3,326.04. So that was a big service, but it kind of took care of a lot of things that I thought were important to do, not necessarily necessary, but important. So also on the preventative maintenance side, I did, when I first got the car, I did a cabin air filter, I did the air filter, and I bought some brake caliper bolts because I was going to do the brakes. I have not yet done those. They're still fine, but we're getting close. And I also did an initial oil change. So those 4 items, $135.25. And again, brake caliper bolts I haven't used. And quite honestly, the air filter and the cabin air filter were both in great shape. As well was the oil. The oil had been changed, I want to say about 7 or 8 months prior. And so it was just a good thing to do. And now we're going to get into the elective purchases. And the total for this category is $1,581.85. So again, these are elective purchases that I did. When I bought the car, it was kind of interesting. I had, at this point, I don't remember if it was the left front or the right front, but there was a wheel that was actually wider than the stock wheels, and it was an aftermarket wheel. And I knew that the previous owner, or the original owner, had hit a rock with her car, and it caused a little bit of damage to the fender, and she had a tire replaced. But apparently she had a wheel replaced as well, and that's something I did not know about, and I did not notice when I went to pick up the car. It was very hard to tell the difference, other than it was slightly wider. And I found out about it because I took the car in to get the tires, or the tires and wheels balanced, because it felt like there was just a tiny bit of a shimmy on the freeway driving home. And that's when the guys at Discount told me about it. So I replaced that wheel. That was $375. It was a refurbished light turbo thrust look 18 by 8 inch wheel. I put a new stereo in the car with XM and Bluetooth and all that stuff. That was $432.30. I put in some new floor mats, $75. I bought the little convertible cap tops that, where the hard top goes into the convertible. It just covers those. One of them was missing, or actually it was cracked, so I just replaced both of them. And I had my hard top restored, as you can see on my other video. That was $480. And then the wheelhouse air deflector I had replaced, which is underneath the front of the car. There's also a video on my channel about that, $27.55. And I also had my headlights restored, and that was $90. Also, when I first got the car, I had it washed and detailed. Just wanted to get a good wax on there from a professional, and that was $80. So again, the total for that category, the elective, what I call elective purchases, was $1,581.85. Okay, so on to, this is a category that I call gray area maintenance and items that I broke. So in the process of doing my motor mounts, as if you watched that a video earlier in my series, I ended up breaking my oil filler tube, which kind of led me down the line of breaking other things and having to replace things. So this is a lovely category, and something that hopefully never happens to you if you do decide to get a 996, or if you already have one. So I wanted to replace the motor mounts because, they'd been in the car for 100 and whatever. At the time, I think I did it about 112, 111,000 miles, I don't know. And I thought it would help the shifting also between 1 and 2. And so they were about $325. I could not find my receipt for those. I just got the stock OEM style motor mounts. I really liked the ride quality of the car. I didn't want to change that too much, so I stuck with those. They went in fine. It wasn't a problem. They were $325. But to get to the bolts, you have to actually pull the air box out. And when I put the air box back in, the oil filler tube, snapped. So that took me down the path of having to remove a bunch of things out of the car to get to the oil filler tube, which happens to be way around the back, and behind the alternator is where the bolts are. So after trying to get the alternator out for 2 days, I don't know if I damaged the alternator somehow or if it just was coincidence, but I ended up needing to do the oil air separator hose connection, which is a little plastic guy, is only $20. I had to get an oil fill tube gasket, the oil filler tube, $32, and the alternator, which was about $350. Again, couldn't find that receipt. I got a new belt, which was $25, and one new little pulley. I'd like to replace all those pulleys. I just haven't done it yet, and that was $80. So this gray area maintenance that we're talking about here, caused by my own idiocy in changing my motor mounts, equaled $837. So, it is what it is, just part of the deal this year. I didn't really notice a huge difference with the motor mounts after changing those, but it's all good. They needed to be changed. They were definitely worn out, big time. And then that leads us to the last category, which is necessary expenses and repairs. And these are basically things that kind of had to spend money on this year. So obviously tags for the car, 9410, super cheap. I actually bought 2 years when I registered the car for the first time when I brought it back from California. 188.20 is what I spent on them, but just keeping it for this year, 94.10. My insurance for the year was about $720, roughly $60 a month. My e-brake switch, the little tiny switch in there that tells the car that the e-brake is on so that the convertible top works, I did a video on that as well. $10 and just some time to replace that. It wasn't that big of a deal. And then the ignition switch also went out. I did a video on that too. That was $30. Again, just kind of time replacing that, not that big of a deal. And then the last thing I added in this category, we talked a little bit earlier, I added gas in here, $628. So without the gas, $854.41. That's insurance, tags, the e-brake, and the ignition switch. And then you add the gas in, $1482.41. Which leads us to a grand total of $6,721.55. So that's kind of my year cost this year, and hopefully those categories make sense and you can kind of follow along the numbers. It's a little bit hard to follow numbers in a video, but I will try to put a link or at least put a picture up of the totals here so you can at least pause the video and take a look at those and see what I spent and what my categories specifically were. You know, I have to say that I got the car, it was actually 1 year ago today, or I'm sorry, 1 year ago yesterday that I bought the car. And it's really been awesome owning it. I still love driving it as much as I did initially. It still gives you the same feeling that it did when I first bought it. And overall, I'm glad I did. I have really no regrets about it. You know, yeah, I spent a bunch of money on it this year, but it just is what it is. I kind of knew going in that it was going to be, you know, an expensive toy, and that's what I use it for. So as far as things I've got planned for this next year, I know I'm going to need new rear tires probably in the next couple thousand miles, maybe a little bit longer. I'm going to need to do the brakes as well. The brakes are getting pretty close. And beyond that, I'd kind of like to start getting into the suspension and take care of a few of the little rattles that are kind of happening while driving over bumps and stuff. And I don't know if it's tie rods or something else. I'm not sure at this point, but those are kind of some of the things I'm looking forward to this next year. So if you have any questions about any of the things that I talked about or other things that I didn't cover, and you're in the process of looking at 996s or whatever, 911s in general, I'm happy to try to help you out. As always, I really appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit thumbs up. If you want to subscribe, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Come back for some more 911 videos as we go down the road. Thanks for watching.